an honor
to lift our voice and sing
to the living God. No one can deny that Jesus Christ
Jesus Christ is the Most High.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
So, last week we finished a series. It was 11 sermons, but it was on worship, and it was a good series. God, it opened my eyes up to so much about worship. I had no idea who the first worshiper was. By the time I got to the end, I not only understood who the first worshiper was, but I understood in what ways I was like him. In what ways I had began to put, like Lucifer did, myself, my interests, the things that I like, my children, my wife, my job, my house, my car, above God. How just like Lucifer, I had begun to do that thing, what they call it, the trade, where he was taking a little bit of the glory from God. How just like Eve, how she decided to do it for herself and learn for herself and be her own boss, how I had begun to do that in my own life. And see, by the end of that series, I understood what it means, how to worship God, not just with my lips, not just saying the right things, not just being in the right place, but to worship God from my heart. Now we get ready to move in a different direction. See, worship is the foundation for what we are and for who we are. At Uplift, the first thing we're going to do, and this is in our mission, we are here to lift up Christ, right? We lift up Christ so that he can do all the rest. He can do the drawing, he can do the fixing, he can do the restoring. But our number one job is to worship him. We lift him up. As I begin to conclude the series, I begin to think about the fact that none of us, not one of us, over this a little bit over 2 years, ever went through a new members class. So as we've been building and we've been growing as a family, we've been growing in Christ, we've never really been taught what it means to be a member of the church. What's expected of us? What are we supposed to be? We become part of this big thing. Last week, Jesus tells us that, like his last commandment, they come to him to worship. What does Jesus say? If you want to worship me, go out and tell people about me. Go grow the church. And if we're not careful, we get caught up in the trap of growing some and not knowing what to do with what we grew. And so what God began to talk to my heart and what I want to begin to move us over the next 7 weeks, I want us to look at what it means to be a church member. We're going to start a new series. It's called I Am a Church Member. This series we're going to look at week by week. We're going to take pledges. We're going to talk about what it is that we need. Matter of fact, I've given everybody a book. Everybody, if you haven't gotten a book today, you should get one on your way out. This book is the book that we'll have. Listen, every time we get a new member, anybody comes and joins the church, they will receive this book. They will go through this exact same class. It's about a 100-page book. They will understand what it means to be a member at Uplift. We will grow and grow together, and we will grow in the same direction. So I'm going to start today with those 6 sermon topics about what it means to be a new member. But then something happened this week. Minister Allen's mother went into ICU. Now, we were at the house. We were getting ready to go on vacation. We got a text from Minister Allen, and it put everything on pause for me, for Shaki and for the kids. We went down to the hospital to see her, and Sister Allen's mother, guys, she's come a long way in a week. I know you guys have been up there to check on her, but she's come a very long way. She was in a coma all day Resurrection Day, all day Monday after Resurrection. Ain't God good, because now she's on her way home.
Amen. Praise God.
But as a pastor, that hit me like a ton of bricks, because I looked at Minister Allen And although she knew I was looking at her to determine whether or not I was going to go on vacation, and although she had her best, let me tell you, she had her best look out, I could see in her heart, she was hurting. She was hurt no different than anybody in here whose mother was in ICU. I began to think about whether or not I was going to go on vacation, whether or not we were just going to stay here and look out to Minister Allen. And then God said to my heart, he said, what about your church? What about the members? What about the ministers? What about the deacons? What about the stewards? What about the members of your church? I gave Minister Allen a hug. I prayed with her. I prayed with her mother. I got in the car and I sent one text to 10 people because it wouldn't let me send it to more than 10 people. I think that's what a Samsung has the Apple phone beat, guys. I sent one text to 10 people, and from that one text, probably 50 texts went out. I never had to say anything else except for amen and to God be the glory, because the 10 people that I sent the text to became arms and hands. They became the heart of Uplift. It got to the point where I became concerned that we may overwhelm Minister Allen in the hospital. And I learned something about you guys. I learned something about each and every one of you. I learned something about this series, and I learned the place where we're going to start, and that is that we are better together. And that's what I want to talk with you about today. We are better together. Because I'm one person. Now, I could have been at the hospital. I could have, disappointed my wife and kids and stayed in town. But you know what? We are better together. We are better when we work together. And I begin to think about this. There are some things that are better together. First of all, think about this for a second. Cookies and milk, I don't care what you say. They're better together. I like cookies and I like milk, but there's nothing like cookies and milk to me. What about this? Bacon and eggs. I like bacon. And I like eggs. But man, when you put them together, and I don't know about you, my mom used to take the bacon and break it into real small pieces and well, that's something totally different. But there's nothing like bacon and eggs together. How about this? How about a hammer and nail? You ever tried to use a nail without a hammer? You ever tried to get a rock or something around and it just doesn't work quite like when you have a hammer and a nail together. What about this? This is a picture of our women's ministry. This is the same women's ministry that are working together to figure out sex trade. This is the same women's ministry that stood up and began to take care of the Minister Allen situation. This is just a small representation of who we are. But isn't that a powerful picture? We are better together, guys. Together, there's nothing that we cannot do. There's nothing we can't build. There's no place that we can't go. There's not one life we cannot save. There's not one marriage we can't restore. There's not one wayward child we can't bring back. We are better. We are stronger. We are greater. And God, Jesus himself, intended on us to be together. Think about this. The last night of his death, he could have been doing all types of things on his own, doing all types of things, trying to teach all types of lessons. But he does one thing and one thing over and over again. He brings the people together. He goes out to pray. He could have went by himself, but he takes people with him and they pray together. He comes back in. He eats. He breaks bread. He fellowships together. Listen, he encourages each and every one of them, although he knows that every one of them is going to do something he's not proud of. We watched the play last week. Some going to go, some going to deny, some going to run, some going to hide. But what does Jesus do? He encourages them together. He constantly puts them together. And the biggest thing that he does to me is he gets down on his knees and he serves each and every one of them one at a time. He cleans their feet. He goes between their toes. Now think about this now. This isn't like today. If I were to do a foot washing today, no big issue. You guys haven't been walking barefoot or in sandals through the same place where the horse has been walking. Now, I know we rode a horse this weekend. I can tell you, horses don't go off into the bushes. Wherever they are, they go. But Jesus, he gets down on his knees and he serves. He cleans between the toes of each and every one of these disciples. And what he is showing them is the sense of love. It's the sense of community. It's the sense that together, listen, when we are together, I know I got a big day tomorrow. I know I'm going to be killed tomorrow. I know I've got a lot to do tomorrow. But tonight, most important thing in the world to me is each and every one of you guys at this table, all 11 of you. Let me serve you. Let me feed you. Let me clean your feet. Let me be there with you. Let me teach you what it means to be in community with each other. You guys heard in the responsive reading, they learned a big lesson. The responsive reading happens exactly like Jesus would have planned it, and it's the exact same way that we need to do it today. Peter goes out. He begins to evangelize. He does the best sermon of all time. I went online to see if I could find a single time in history where more than 3,000 people joined any church, and I couldn't find it. He makes a sermon without a microphone, without a praise team, without a band, without a light show, without a video. And the sermon is so powerful that 3,000 people join on that day. But not only do they show us how powerful he was and how powerful it was, but if we look closely at the Church of Acts, they begin to give us the secrets of how we can be better together. This is what it is all about. This is the secret sauce. This is how we get to the place where God wants us to be. This is how we take care of each other. This is what church membership is all about. Let's take a look at these verses. Verse 41, it says, "So those who accepted his message were baptized." And I want to pause there for a second. You know, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the traditions of man, how Jesus begins to call people out. He says, listen, you can't change the things that you've seen in me, the things that my God has commanded us to do, to meet your traditions. You remember they were taking their wives, they were divorcing them, they were creating new laws. Those 10 commandments went to 600 and some commandments. And Jesus says, no, this isn't worship. You're worshiping God with your lips, but you're changing the commands in order to fit your lives. And I want to speak to a couple people here. I'm not sure exactly who you are. But now it's the time for you to be baptized. And I know that this is going to be awkward for you because some of you come from traditions in which baptism is not important. But Jesus himself was baptized. He was submerged in water and brought up. The Holy Spirit was there. God the Father said, I am so pleased with this. My wife came to me the other day, and she grew up in Methodist tradition, and she said to me, I am ready to be baptized, and I'm going to baptize her. I'm going to baptize my children at the end of this series. And anybody else who has not been baptized but accepted Christ into your life, there's an opportunity for you to come and be baptized at the end of this series. But he says, all those people who accepted his message, those people who believed in Christ, they were what? Baptized. And that day, 3,000 people were added to the church. The church exploded on that day. Next it says, and they devoted themselves. They became committed to following Christ. They became committed to the church, to the apostles' teaching. Not only did they become committed to the church, but they actually went to Bible study. They were really eager to find out. Now, what is it? So we just accepted this thing, this Jesus thing. He told me that he died for my sins, and now that he died, I now have this relationship with God. I can now be in direct relationship with God. But what does that mean? See, once you give your life to Christ, something happens on the inside of you. You want to know more. You want to be a part of more. And the way that they fulfill this need is they give in and they become devoted to Bible study. They become devoted to being in service on Saturday. They become devoted to studying their Bible at home. He says, and to the fellowship. Not only do they become devoted to the teaching, but they begin to love each other. They begin to talk to each other. When church is over with, and you guys do about as good a job of this as any church I've ever seen, there's a big fellowship here. When this church service is over with, you guys are out there sometimes an hour, 2 hours. Sometimes the stewards come to me and they find me and they say, hey, can you help me get these folk out of here? We get you out. We leave here sometimes and people are still fellowshipping in the parking lot. He says not just devoted to teaching and to fellowship, but they ate together. They spent time, and see, so much of Jesus' ministry, food is present. Food is important. You want to get intimate with somebody, you have to eat with them. In some cultures, they literally feed each other with their hands. You wouldn't dare think about hitting your wife or one of your children the wrong way if they're going to be that same hands that are going to feed you. He says, not only did they break bread, but they all prayed together. They devoted themselves to not just praying together, but praying for each other. Let's go a little bit further. It says, then fear came over everyone, and many wonders and signs were being performed. And I want to look this word fear up, and this is not fear as in I'm scared or something like that. This is more like awe. I mean, stuff was happening. Powerful things were happening. Like people were in ICU on Sunday. They were in a coma on Sunday and Monday, and they were going home on Friday. That kind of stuff was happening. When people came together and they served each other and they prayed together and they visited each other, and all of a sudden folk were getting out of hospital beds and walking home. It was so powerful that the church at that time, it says in fear, but the real word is awe. They were just amazed that, man, God really can do this. When we come together, we're just great together. We're just better together, right? He says, now all the believers were together and held all things in common. In other words, they had a mission. You know, kind of like we got a mission is to uplift Christ. They were all working on the same page. People weren't out trying to fix people. People weren't out trying to correct people, but they were just lifting up Christ in everything that they did. Let's go a little bit further. He says they sold their possessions. Don't get scared. I'm not about to actually do nothing crazy. But listen to what these people did. They sold their possessions and their property and distributed the proceeds among anyone who had need. They didn't go to the government and said, hey, we got some people in this community. We have some believers in this church, and we need you to give us a grant to feed them, to help them. We've got a lady who needs a roof fixed. We need to go to Habitat for her. No. Everything that they needed, everything that anybody within their congregation needed, the group, the church, provided it. Even if it meant that they had to sacrifice some of their own stuff. You know, we got a lot of stuff. We spent a lot of money in a lot of different places. I think me and Ashaki, we learned over the fast that we probably spent about $1,000 too much on fast food every month. $1,000 that we could have been given to somebody in need. $1,000 that we could have been putting toward helping somebody who we knew was struggling. Some people who didn't even have food. That's what this church did. And what we learn from them is that we're better together when we study together. Listen, when we come to this place, I know it requires a sacrifice for us to come at 4 o'clock instead of 5. I get it. We've gotten so busy. We've got so much going on in our lives. We've gotten so distracted. with all these things, that 1 hour is almost too much. But listen to me. When we study together, when we go through a series like we're going through now, and you actually come on Saturdays and you follow the message, when we go into that Bible study room and we actually take time tackling topics that really make a difference in our lives, we become better together. Listen, when we have men's ministry meeting or women's ministry meeting, or we have the children together and they're going to Kid Fest and they're going to be studying something together, we become better. But not only do we need to study together, but fellowshipping together. We've got to figure out ways in order to get together. Listen, you may be the only person that is going to encourage somebody this week. When somebody leaves here on Saturday and they have to go through a long week at work, we have no idea what they're faced with. We have no idea with what types of bill situations that they have. We have no idea with what their health is. We have no idea. But isn't it amazing that your fellowship, just your love, your kind words could be the difference in that person for that week? But not only do we fellowship together, but we've got to pray together. Listen, we've got a prayer box. We need you to put your prayers in. There are ways to submit your prayers online. Dr. Lyons is leading our prayer ministry. But prayer, listen, we may not have a lot of money. We may not have a lot of time, but we have an abundance of prayer. My job as minister of this church is to pray for each and every one of you. I pray for each and every one of you. But the more I pray and the bigger we get, the more it's going to be my job to get these ministers and these deacons to praying for you. It's my goal that every single day that every one of your name is called out to God. Every one of you. But by the same token, your prayers are needed for each person in here, whoever comes to your mind, whatever situation that you find out about through fellowship. It's your job as part of this church to go back and then pray for those people. But when we work together, we're better. Listen, Angelo was out in the yard one time trying to break sticks. He got about 2 or 3 of them in his hand, and he just couldn't break them. And I just came from around him from the back, and I just kind of put my hand on the stick with him, and together we were able to break those sticks. And listen, there are some things that you're going through in your own individual lives, and I know, listen, that's what the enemy wants to do. That's exactly what he did to Jesus. He said, listen, you've just been baptized. I want you to come away from everybody else, and I want to tempt you all by yourself. Because if I can get you by yourself, I can tempt you. I can make you do things that you don't want to do. And I know the mentality that we have, especially in this day and time. It's my family first. It's all about us. But listen, your family is stronger when it's with other families like you. And as men, I know it's all about us, right? It's all about me as a man. But listen, you are stronger when you're surrounded by other men who hold you accountable. And the final thing is serving together. Listen, when we go out and we serve in a group, it's powerful. But more importantly, when we serve each other, that's power. Jesus serves by cleaning the feet of the disciples. He goes in between the toes and he gets all that toe jam and whatever else it is that's in there. But let me tell you something. There's something about having somebody in your circle who knows what's between your toes, who can help you clean what's between your toes. It's something about having somebody in your circle, something about having somebody in your church family that's close enough for you and your wife to sit down when you're going through some things and you be able to talk to them and they can pray for you and they can serve you and they can help remove some of that mess. Same thing for singles. It's something about having another single that you can sit down that knows enough about your toe jam to be able to correct you, to hold you accountable, to direct you, to serve you. So how do we become a better church? Let's look at verses 46 and 47 First of all, it says every day, they devoted themselves to meeting together in the temple complex and broke bread from house to house. They ate their food with a joyful and humble attitude. Listen to this. In order for us to become a better church, it's real simple what we have to do. We've got to get to the place where we devote ourselves to wanting to be a better church. We've got to get to the place where we join the church. Now, I'm going to use this just for a second and talk with just a few people, not everybody, but some of us have been around long enough. We're not going nowhere. Yeah, we're really a ministry now. But the first thing that we need to start getting is devotion. We need to get some people, it's a whole nother level, married folks, when you devote. It's no different in ministry. It's a whole nother level when you commit, when you give your hand to God and to this church, and you begin to be a committed member of Uplift. And in order for us to be a better church, we've got to start moving more toward commitment. But the second thing that he shows us is that the fellowship and the ministry has to be bigger than just what we do here on Saturday. We've got to figure out some kind of a formula for small groups, for Bible study. We've got to begin to expand what we do past Saturday. But I think the final and most important part of it is, which you guys get a straight A from me on every time, is we've got to do everything that we do. Everything that we do has to come from a joyful attitude. We've got to be pleasant with each other. We've got to love each other. You know, when they come to Jesus, they say, what are the top commandments? And Jesus says, love. He says you need to love God with all your heart. You need to, in other words, we need to lift Christ up in everything that we do. But he says we need to love the other members and the other people out there, non-members, some saved, some not saved, some Muslims, some Hindus. We need to love them like we love ourselves. Then the final thing he says is that they were praising God and having favor with all the people. And every day, the Lord added to them those who were being saved. That's the secret. You guys want to grow. We want to go in a different direction. We want to start to expand. You want to go out and do something. Want to make a difference in the community. We want to start restoring some lives. The way that we're going to do it is through love. We're going to have to love ourselves. We're going to love each other. We're going to love the people in the community. We got to love God first and foremost. I want to talk to you very briefly about being a brick. In my meditation, God showed me this brick. And this brick represents each one of us. Now, there's not a lot that this brick can do by itself like this. I think primarily the only thing that it really can do is lift you up just a little bit. And this brick represents each one of us, each one of our ministries. And when we're alone and we're just this brick by ourselves, there's not much that we can do. We can't be very effective. But when we come together, and we put all of our bricks together, then this church can become a straight path for somebody who's lost. This church can become a road to Jesus for somebody. When we put all of ourselves together, all these bricks together, This church can become restoration for a house. It can become a new marriage for a single couple, or it can become a saved marriage for a married couple. When we put all of ourselves together, we allow ourselves to become something greater than ourselves. This church can become a new church in this area. An ark. I'm talking about no longer inside of somebody else's church, but the bricks that we need to build our church are all in this room right now. God told me that we don't need another brick in order to do the things that He's shown me. But what we need is for everybody to make their bricks available. We don't need another brick to build a building that God has shown us. We just need dedication and devotion from you as church members. We don't need another brick or another member in order to build a path that's going to lead this community to Christ. We got everything we need. We just need dedication. We need devotion. We don't need another brick to save another marriage or to get another single person to the place where God wants them to be. All we need is the bricks that are here to become devoted. So this week, I want to leave you with this. We is always better than me. I know that this is countercultural. I know we stay in a society where even devoting or joining or committing to a church is almost like taboo. I know what it means to devote yourselves, to give yourselves, to allow your brick to be a part of what we're doing. I know, I get it. But I'm coming to you. And I'm saying to you that now, at this particular time, that you're a part of something that is greater than you. That there are people out there who are waiting on us to get these bricks together. There are folks suffering within this community who are just looking for a path. They just need for us to be bricks that can be a path for them. There are houses that are broken in this community. They just need us to come and be the bricks for them. There's a church need in this community. Listen. I know it won't be easy. I know that what's to come for us, we're not going to build a building and it be easy. But I know a God that is able to do everything that He's shown us. Listen, all we have to do is commit. All we have to do is get behind His plan. All we have to do is take care of each other, love God first, love each other, and
Here we stand in the presence of our Savior.
It's an honor
And it's an honor to lift our voice and sing
to the living God.
to the living God.
No one can deny
No one can deny
that Jesus Christ
Jesus Christ